Hey, how's it going? I just did a whole a whole bunch of talking on the photo setting. Duh. Okay, and now I don't have a tissue because my nose wants to run. Well, anyway, let's just start again. Please look at my signs. Okie dokie. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I need to sort of turn my back on you so I can grab a tissue because my nose wants to dribble. Oh, I'm glad that I had to do this so I could turn that away. I don't know why, but having that end of the paper towel opening facing the camera, I don't like it. I cannot stand it. If I see it, I feel, it just feels wrong. I don't know what it means. I don't know why you needed to know that, but now you do. You're welcome. Okay, so yeah, what I had said in my non-recording was when I got done with my last reading, I was putting away the cards. And I had used a couple of decks, and one of them was the Sacred Soul Messages deck. And what I did what I usually do, I inserted them randomly, and then I shuffle them, and then I put them in the box until next time, and I can do, like, whatever before I use them again. And so, while I was shuffling, thinking that I was done, two popped out, and I was like, oh, okay. I am not going to deal with those now because I was done for the day. And I just, like, stuck them into place. And then today, like, I was going to use them. I was always going to use them. And so, I mean, they came out all with kind of energetically. So I was like, guess I should pay attention to these. But not right now. So anyway, whole day goes by. And I'm setting up to do this. And, I pull out the cards, and I'm thinking there's two. I thought there was three. I don't know. Like I said, I was, I guess, in a hurry to be done with doing it, but I thought there was three. There was only two from the Sacred Soul Messages deck, but there were also three from this Gemstone Whispers deck, which I have, like, no memory at all of pulling out. Like, not at all. I don't remember doing it, but here they are. So we'll get to them at some point. For now, I'm gonna I just want to sort of talk. Like, I just have, like, a random mess of stuff that has been on my mind, that sort of appeared on my mind today, whatever, but also, you know, like with everyone else, there's a personal side to me, and there's been some interesting developments in that area, and just in keeping with the whole sort of chaotic up and down, you know, things changing, like, so much from moment to moment just in the world, and then on, like, a much smaller, slower level in my own. I don't know, like, it's just felt kind of wild, you know. Like, you're on some uncontrollable roller coaster, and it's just doing stuff, and you are like, I mean, you got on it, and you meant to get on it, so now you just got to deal with what it's doing now that it's just, like, out of control. That's kind of what it feels like. Or today did, me personally. Whatever. And then I also just personally am feeling, like, up and down and up and down, and me personally, there's not really a reason to have so many highs and lows, you know, like, even with the flares of anger, that is something that mainly, I mean, I vocalize, definitely. It comes out. It's not directed particularly at any person. It's a frustration thing of just like, "Ah, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I worked so hard for it to." Or you have an issue like I had today where I had to deal with my phone carrier, and it just was sort of like, let me put it another way. Frustrating things happen with those where you have an issue and you can no longer expect to resolve it. Even if you throw money at it, it's like you better hope everything works and you don't need service, because my carrier, when you call up, it says it's customer service, but what it really is you call and they listen to you, pour out your guts and your frustration, and you're like, okay, so here's my problem. I was as clear as I could possibly be, because I've dealt with these people so many times. I know that you have to be as clear as you can possibly be, even when you're speaking to a live human, not just a bot, which is a useless waste of time on any site that I go to when I have some sort of issue. Like, you always end up like, I try to just go immediately to a person, but they'll make you go through like bot hell, and then when they get that they can't help you, which you already knew, then they'll let you talk to a person sometimes. But anyway, my carrier, once you get through to the person, they listen to you and you're thinking, okay, something's gonna get done, I'm feeling positive, and then they start into a sales pitch. This gets back to my utter frustration and irritation with the advertising of capitalism. Like, it's so ridiculous now. And I always say, I understand that this is someone's job, but like, I watch a lot of YouTube because I don't have television, so there are a lot of ads, and thankfully, I'm so thankful. Like, I am 100% serious here. I am so thankful that most of the times you can skip the ad. Like, thank you so much, YouTube. Thank you, thank you. Television, until I had a DVR, the ads were a problem there too. But I do want to say, part of those people whose job it is to do advertising, sometimes those are really funny, and the ads, and like, I personally wouldn't go and buy the product because I liked the ad. I don't know. I do surveys, so I get asked a lot about that, but that is not the way to reach me. Like, with an ad, you're already like, losing points. I find my way to products, or they will make me aware of it, but it's like, it's not the ad that does it for me. So the point is, like, a lot of creative people work on them, and everybody can't be like the TV star or the movie star or the theater star, or at least that was the reality in the past. Now people have access to this sort of thing, and a lot of people can do a lot more technical stuff than I can, obviously, and spiff up their work really well. And I'm sure if you have training and experience from sort of the old way of doing things that is now in transition, everything is like adapting and crazy, and that makes it chaotic. And I was talking to my sweetie, and I was saying that it feels like the world right now, it just feels like Inception, And then, think about trying to walk in Inception. It's ridiculous. And that's just kind of how the world feels. But I haven't, like, everything just is changing every moment. So, like, I was working on my vibration, and I still am, like, it is important to remember to stay in high vibration if you can, while there's all of this stuff that's just pulling at you to be sad and angry and make you feel like, what's the use, kind of, because things have just gotten progressively narrower as you try to progress in life. I know it's different for different people, but I think it's happening to everybody in some kind of way. Like, I mean, the homeless population is just growing and growing and growing. And here where I live, in this pretty small little town, like, it's full on Mayberry, even though they're building stuff and they made this tiny local community college into now it's a university. I guess it would be an annex, but I noticed that they were like spiffing up the town, like they changed out the street posts, and they, put in these fancy Art Deco looking things with plant pots on them, and that's fine. Beautifying is good. And they put in roundabouts and new hotels, and I'm like, wait, what do we need hotels for? There's no stadium around here. Like I said, this now community university, it's still tiny. But that it is alarming to me, because I know what this is. I've seen it before. You could say it's gentrification. They are definitely moving in, and more in favor of the moving in of a higher salary bracket class of people. I think that's probably everywhere, which is weird, because not everybody is that. And so back to the homeless people, kind of what's been happening since before COVID, but probably that worsened it, is I'm seeing reports of it, because it's not my life, but how it's just getting harder and harder for people that have to work for a living, and to afford housing, and health care, and then if you have kids, and then you have to deal with school, and like, why is my blood pressure going up? Calm down, that is not my life. But I feel for these people. Like, I see how hard it is, and I thank my lucky stars. Like, I might get mad, and I'm like, but I'm so grateful for what I have, because the next step it would be Inception-y, not in a good way, I think, because I'm not prepared for stuff. And that is on me, but well, that's a whole other can of worms. So, yeah, that just was it. Like, I just want to say, I don't know, like, what other people are feeling, really, because I have my caregiver comes, and she'll be talking to me, and she'll say, like, something is happening with her, and she'll be like, but it's not this, and I know it's not that, and I know it's not this, and I know it's not that, and I'll be like, I'll know that, like, there's been, for the past couple of days, like, the effects of gigantic solar storms hitting us, and I don't know, like, just things are changing, and it's alarming. And here's the thing, like, for here in the United States, like, I hesitate to say that, like, I'm like a psychic, because I just don't feel like I have that much going on. I got a little something going on, but I'm not, like, I think I need some training. But way back, because I was watching Linda G, the Comanche psychic, right, earlier. And she was talking about how, like, the mega people are going to be the ones to change themselves. And I was like, hey, back in 2015, 2016, I was asking her because, I mean, I was like, they're going to get it, right? They're going to see, like, this is complete baloney. And really, like, the Emperor's New Clothes, I can't help thinking of it, you know? That fairy tale. If you're not familiar, familiarize yourself. But it couldn't describe this man better. I wish I had the children's book that I had of this story, and because I would not be surprised if that figure in the book, it did have like blonde hair, I remember that much, if that figure didn't resemble Trump, because stuff just kind of echoes. But anyway, back to 2015, 2016, when I posed the question to Linda G, I was like, do you think they get it yet? And it was like, I don't think I even got an answer from anybody over there. But it just seemed to me like everybody else that is not Maganon kind of like gets it about Trump. And I know that like they have all this stuff. They got the Q and they got the MAGA, but you know, around the same time I got to know some QAnon people, and they're very, I've said this before, they're very not the caliber, but caliber of the people that you see interviewed at the rallies. Like, I don't even think they go to that crap. They were just more educated and more savvy, and even as, you know, they were such admirers of Trump, they were not unaware of the other stuff going on in the world. They weren't as homophobic, which it feels like a really kind of lower vibration thing, because it's masking like true feelings. Like the phobia is indicative of something else. And this is not really a segue, but I was watching something about that too, and it's the wow, there's a particular homophobia in the black community. It's like, and I think a lot of it's religious based, but I think that has steered us wrong in a lot of ways, or we have misunderstood it and steered ourselves wrong. Yeah, that's more like it. Although there has been some steering, you know, like some shepherding of flocks that I feel like is not authentic. Like the people that want the planes and the watches, and it's all got to come out of your pocket, and somehow that's going to be the prosperity gospel that's going to fill yours. And it's like, if those people are getting filled pockets after donating, like tithing everything they have to these guys, then they're master manifestors. They don't even need the preacher. Like, just forget about the preacher part and go live your life. You don't need them. You can do it. So, yeah, that other thing though, the black homophobia, the prohibition of it, like, there's not really much of a space where it's okay for people to be gay in the black community. And I'm not, this is probably obvious, but I'm not deeply involved in it. Like, I don't have a lot of people around me that are, like, I don't know, black. And well, I'm seeing an interesting phenomena that I've known is there all my life, and it does make you kind of wary. But racism does exist within the black community, and the thing that's kind of alarming now is that the reaction, some rappers, I guess a lot, and that's the alarming part, like more than I thought, were like Rick Ross is one that I've heard the most talking about this, like on his records, about how Drake ain't black enough. And it's like, yeah, he didn't grow up in Compton. So, I mean, he just doesn't have that in his life. It's not who he is. It's not a failing, you know? But Rick Ross is like, has a problem with his color and probably the way he talks. And I know that I don't hear it directly from my family, but I think they probably cringe when they hear me talk because I don't sound like them. I didn't grow up in the same neighborhoods. Like, I understand it. Some of my relatives do, some of them don't, and hold it against me, I think, or I don't know how to explain it. There's definitely a cringe factor that I'm aware of, but the thing about that is, like, sorry, I didn't, like, you know, this is not the result of something that I did. I mean, yes, for, like, the birth contract thing, the life path and all that, but the two parents could have been any combination of people that fit a certain category, you know? Like, sure, everything arranged ahead of time, but candidates, maybe there was more than one candidate for each counterpart, you know? Like, I could have come out a completely different version. You know, like, there's so many minute factors that, if you think about it, do you have time to think about it all and go crazy or not? Yeah, I feel like there's things in the Bible that they're like, it says this, so it's wrong, and like, you're gonna go to hell, and I've made my feelings about the hell pretty clear. Like, I don't think you have to go anywhere. I think we create that right in our lives. Like, because the afterlife is beautiful. There's none of that stuff there, you know, except for, I guess, when you're going through your life regression and you're remembering that you put the people through that, or you went through something that felt like that while you were having your, you know, incarnation. So, and then, I mean, it's just people, because like I said, some people understand that there's gay people, and like, that can just be the end of it. You know, they don't feel the need to like judge them and, you know, make whole shows about it, and, you know, eject people from your life and reject them and all of this kind of thing. And like I said, if you have like that much of a problem with it, you might look at home, you know, like if you feel that strongly about it, because certainly we've seen in politics, for example, probably the best example, where the person screaming and yelling the loudest about how evil and terrible homosexuality is sometimes turns out to be the very much homosexual one. What's happening with my signs? Excuse me, I have to fix this. I did not realize that was that way. Now I feel better. So, I want to share something with you. When I was 12 and I went to Bancroft Junior High School in Hollywood, California, or I guess it's West Hollywood now. I think at the time when I went there, I think it was just LA if you looked on a like map. But it was more Hollywood. You could call it Hollywood more than you could call Long Beach Hollywood, that's for sure. Like, you could hoof it up to Hollywood Boulevard, you know, in like 20 minutes from where I live. So, I mean, it was Hollywood. Anyway, so, you know, this other girl. We were both 12. We were both born in December, so we were the youngest kids in the class. And when we just became friends. We got along like well, and she had a boyfriend that lived in Venice Beach, and he was an older boyfriend. So one day she was like, do you want to go with me to the beach? We're just gonna like ditch and go visit my boyfriend. And I was like, yes, because it was like 1,000 degrees and I hated school and I loved the beach, and just I'm so curious, like, what is this all? Am I wearing my shirt backwards? Apparently not. Well, now I screwed it all up. Well, anyway, great time to get sidetracked. So we get on the RTD, Rapid Transit District, it used to be called, and you know, all we had to do was go up to Santa Monica Boulevard, which was like a block up, and then just one bus the whole way, and you just went straight to the beach, and then you had to transfer. But it was just great fun. It was probably the first time I ever ditched, except for faking sick and staying home. And so we go, and it's like a total like hippie area, I guess you could call it, on the boardwalk. And the place was on the boardwalk, which is funny. I'm just realizing right now I briefly lived in a place on the boardwalk, and I wonder how close it was to that other place. I didn't even think of it, I don't think, back then. Anyway, so we get there, and she has said to me, she had already told me that this person was a hermaphrodite. So I was big into looking stuff up, just like I am now. So I looked that right up. But she did tell me, and she said that he chose to go present as a male, had a male name. I don't remember his name at this point, but she told me all about the genitalia, and you know, I wasn't horrified, but I was just like, wow, like my mind was just blown. And I don't know if this is a real memory or not. Here's what I remember that I don't know if it was real, is that we were in the person's place, and it was like it was a roommate situation, and their room was like sectioned off with like carpets and drapes or something, some kind of hangings, but it was a small space. And we're sitting in there getting stoned and smoking cigarettes, and I don't know which one of them was like, do you want to see my genitalia, his genitalia? And I don't remember if I was like, I feel like I would have been like, no, I'm good. I think I'll like be okay. Like, I think that would have been like the thing that was too much. Oh, okay, I'm getting chills, so all right, I guess it was real. So, and that sounds like me too, like whipping out at the last moment. But it was kind of like, it really was like my limit, I think. Like, I understood all of it. I got everything. I didn't even have a problem filing it. I was like, okay, like a person that's not just a dude or a chick. Like, I was acquainted with anatomy. I changed diapers. My weird stepdad used to shower with me in the morning. Not with me. Like, I showered myself, but we'd both be standing in there using the water, and I had to be like with my back to him. So don't think it was, I mean, that's weird enough, but I mean, I saw, you know. And so yeah, it was a weird moment. I was 12. I just don't think I was ready for that. But it was an interesting day. But what it did was, I think I didn't have an opinion formed about it, you know, like good or bad as far as homosexuality, and by extension other sexualities, categories. Um, and the reason why I bring all of that up is because in our eventual evolution to being able to face communicate with ETs, like if you watch Sterling Psychic Medium on Sundays, he takes questions from viewers on YouTube, his YouTube channel, and he gets asked a lot about what do the ETs think about homosexuality, and it just seemed like I didn't even have to ask. It just seemed like they're so past that, like it's not a thing the way it is here, and that when he answered the question turned out to be the case. So it's like a lot of steps to make to get right with that for people. Like I've talked about, people have issues, but it's comes up like the LGBTQ plus, etc. I don't know, group of people. Some letter or category always ends up being under attack, and so I've been like kind of watching a lot of this, and it is like low vibration feeling, right? There's a lot of anger, there's like misspoken feelings, like you're not telling the real version of what you have to say, like the truth. If you're telling the truth, it's crooked in some way. Like there's all of these things. There's like more than I could just say right now that I'm even like, I don't even know of like what I'm talking about of everything, you know? So it's just a lot to think about. And then if you're not like okay with it in some way, that's what I'm basically talking about. It's not my situation. So I mean, I'm so thankful. I get twisted up about other stuff, but thankfully not that. I feel like it's just a place you get to in your human evolution at some point, you know, and I don't know, it might be this lifetime, it might not, who knows? I can really only pay attention and make comments with any kind of certainty with regard to my own stuff. Everything else is just kind of an observation, but I am looking because I know that these feelings can be, I don't even think overcome is the right word. I think that it's just like what I was trying to say earlier about 2016, 2015, and asking the question, are these people going to get it yet? That is a terrible way to phrase it, because it makes it sound like they don't get it because they're stupid and moronic like people say about them. Their education level or value is not in question here. What it is it's more of an internal thing. Like I don't know what name to call it, but whatever you call like getting to the place where you can be okay about other people's stuff, and your stuff in regard to their stuff doesn't like turn you into someone that chases people down and beats them and calls them wrong, you know? I'm talking about fag bashing. So it's just like maturing, you know? Like you grow up and you don't do stuff that you did when you were a stupid kid, and you know it was stupid because you say, when I was a stupid kid. Like we progress, we evolve, we, you know, take steps forward, however you want to phrase it. And I guess the reason why I'm talking about all of that here is just to, I don't know, like kind of give a clearer understanding maybe about some of that stuff. And like, I don't know who's feeling what, you know? But if you're feeling something that's considered abnormal, that's gotta suck, you know? And you know, we see, like I've been talking about, like people come after you and verbally and physically, and it's just not right because they turn the dang table. Like, what if the world turned out to be like majority LGBTQ plus people, and then the hetero people, the normal people, were like the minority? And my feeling about that is where the tables turned, especially if the experience was remembered, you know, and it wasn't just like the whole slate clean reality, like the things turned around and all of a sudden the mean and angry heterosexual people that did the awful stuff to the LGBTQ people, like physically, and then like, you know, systematic, you know, whatever kind of racism that is, like systematic, like it might as well be a race thing because I get a lot of the same kind of treatment with jobs and housing, like ill treatment. Still, after all this time, you know, it's like we just keep coming back around to people bugging these people. It's like we should be so thankful that they're here in this lifetime for us to experience and work through. Like, they kind of already know where they're at. They've probably gone through a lot of pain and struggle with coming to terms with it, or maybe they haven't, but they don't need to be attacked when they're in this totally vulnerable situation. That's, you know, Carrie, the movie, the original one, the Stephen King novel adaptation that had really? Seriously, brain? I can't remember the actress name. I'll have to do a link situation for the trailer. What is her name? Well, anyway, in that movie, the girl is coming into puberty, and she's the one with the powers, but her mother is super crazy religious, and she's all over her, and she's like so crazed about like preventing her from like getting pregnant. Probably what happened to her. Oh, man, it is driving me crazy what that woman's name is. Hold on. Come on, open. Yeah, does your phone respond to sound? Okay, crazy. Original Carrie. Oh, come back. There we go. It was 1976 when I was 12. Sissy Spacek. Sorry. I don't need to yell. And I don't even know, I don't remember now why I was thinking of her in terms of the like LGBTQ thing, but if she was any of those things, she would have been P for or T for telekinetic. But yeah, she was just the way her mother came down. Oh, okay, so I guess her mother came down on her so hard and she hadn't even done anything. It was like the Catholic Church making you a sinner when you were an infant. But this woman was like crazy with it, you know, and I started to say, like, maybe this is extrapolating beyond the scope of the script. Well, you get the idea that something bad happened to her when she was her daughter's age. She didn't want it repeated to her, but she just didn't have an appropriate way of sharing that information or protecting her, and she just ended up berating her. But I feel like that happens a lot with super religious families, because like you can't deviate, like forget it. I mean, I'm just talking about deviate like going left or right. But if you do something that they can consider you a deviant, good Lord, have mercy, have you deviated? And this poor girl in the movie, she couldn't move, and then she thinks like something really great and nice is going to happen to her, and you get the idea that maybe it is like the guy meets her and she's not like a eight-eyed monster or whatever the stupid high school talk was. And by the way, the high school students were at least in their 30s. See the original, I always say, because they're usually pretty good. I haven't seen that one in a while, but I bet it holds up. So hopefully, like, we don't have a bunch of people turning into angry Carries and what was the other one? Firestarter with Drew Barrymore as a pyro. What's that power called? Pyro something. Pyrotastic. Don't piss her off. She'll light your ass on fire. Sorry. Spoiler. Sorry about that. 1976 and 1980 something. Okay, so what else do I have here? Oh, okay. So, the vibration. I have still been working on it and really trying to remain positive whenever possible, but stuff I feel like just keeps coming at me, like trying to knock me off my pony, like off my balance beam. And I feel it's like, here, do this now. This is your time to learn how to master like the feelings that come up when you're doing whatever you're doing at the time. And I guess I am like finally learning a little how to get a hold of it. Yay! So yeah, things with the bill company, and then like things in the world trying to be all negative and bring me down, and natural disasters like tearing at your heart, and then like good things happening, like animals being saved and people being saved, and happy war stories of not just survival, but well, in some cases survival, but that's good, no but. And just while your feelings are being worked on by all that stuff, your life you're still conducting, and when I say you, I mean me. And just kind of staying positive and not getting dragged down, because my mind, like on a personal level, stuff wants to go bad places, and a number of people say, don't let the devil take you, don't give in to the devil. And all I can say is, it is not the devil, it is me, like, losing control of my facilities, of my functions. Like I was saying about Elijah's message in the last video, he's like, you can control, like, these flares of anger. He didn't really say anything about, like, the causes of it making it happen to you, but I got the feeling that there was a level of understanding about that, because he does tend to be pretty stern, and it just didn't feel that stern, but it did feel like we gotta do this. And so I have said, just as a sidetrack, I'm gonna regret doing, I always say there's a clock, and I don't really have an explanation for why. But here I do. So I was watching Sterling before I started doing this, and he was talking about the cycle that we're in now, that's from 2020 to 2050, where things are going to improve technology-wise, and we're going to like start to understand to treat each other better, and that's going to allow us to have those face-to-face interactions with ETs. So this is a 30-year cycle he was talking about. But he said today, like, we gotta, like, stay in the high vibration and make it all happen. So that's the clock. And it's about our galactic evolution, really, like bringing humanity into the space age, but bringing us into space and into this whole other higher level of community, and that's exciting. So we're not going to meet the ETs until we can, like, stop shooting at each other and stop hating each other so much, that, like, the way we are right now. And it's a damn shame that I say it all the time, that we now think that we can, like, clear up our problems. The answer is some sort of gun solution. And these two domestic incidents, the one in Las Vegas in front of Trump Tower in the Tesla, that is a statement and a half. And the other guy too in New Orleans, who immediately got branded a bad immigrant when he's not. He just has a Muslim name because he's a Muslim, who they say got radicalized, but I think there's more to it than that. We need to learn how to use our words if we want to meet the ETs, because I don't know what everybody else's idea of meeting the ETs is, but for me, it means, like, we're going to get access to bigger and better things in life. We are going to evolve, like, technology and all kinds of, I don't even know, like, what is in store. We may not have words for a lot of stuff that's coming, and a lot of psychics are talking about it. So yeah. All that stuff. And part of the preparation is, we got to go through this business with LGBTQ stuff. So another time I sort of saw what was coming was only a few years ago on Twitter, when I think Trump was president, and I said to someone that I was having a little conversation with that was, like, really worried about what was happening, and really kind of, like, just felt like really negative and bad about the whole situation. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? Like, we got to go through it with MAGA. Like, it was another situation where they were lamenting, like, the MAGA people, like, why do you like this? Why do you like stuff that I think is horrible? Well, like I said before, they think stuff we have and say and do are horrible in, I want to say, the same kind of way, like, not the same stuff, but similar, like, not that different reaction to each other. But my thing is, because I did get to know some pretty well for around a year, I learned, like, what they're into, like, the kind of stuff they believe. And I gotta say that, especially when it came to Trump, not a fan of him or what he's ever had to offer. That still holds true. And I just, by my personal metric, he's a bad guy. He, wants to eliminate races. And when I first knew of him, it was the 1970s. I'm just going to repeat myself again. I was doing a current events thing for social studies, where you had to pick some current event from the news. And this was both a newspaper clipping that I had, and then it was also on, I believe, ABC News. There was a interview with his father, and it wasn't an interview, but a reporter, like, came up to him at one of their buildings and brought up the fact that they were not renting to black people, that there were complaints that black people were like not being allowed to rent there when it's not legal. And so well, denials is what I remember. Is like, oh no, that's not true, we totally do. Which of course they're gonna say that. And it was Trump and his dad, by the way. So that was where I knew him from, like way back then. And then everything I heard about him, like he was doing casinos, and then they would like start to be built, and then everything would fall apart and it would go bad. Or like, I guess one was there for a few years, the Taj Mahal or whatever, but that like went bad. Like the finances went to crap, and if you know, just what it like, that thing died, and it ended up creating like a domino effect on the boardwalk there. Like everything died. I don't know. It sounds like it wasn't like a big deal like having the casino on it. It was like a little beach town situation, and it did better, and people got to go work at these places building them. And well, we know now that was where he's lucky the place even stood. Like he didn't pay people. How does that work? Anyway, I just got an impression of him over the years, and then just listening to him talk, like he wasn't saying stuff I was happy to hear. Sorry, I'm not. I'm not sorry. There's no reason I should be. So, you know, I did sort of like move in their circle for a while, and I did not become one of them, but I have enough similar sort of leanings or beliefs or something that, boy, do I attract the conservatives and people like that. And that's okay. Anyway, because we have to learn how to integrate with each other. We have to learn how to get along. And my thing has been, as a person on the left, like, we shouldn't be just making fun of these people all the time and calling them names and putting them down and being all, making them everything derogatory, because we still have to live with these people. And I think that was sort of the conversation I was having with this woman on Twitter, was that we gotta like go through this with them. And so why are we doing everything to make it the hardest thing possible? Like, I don't agree with the right at all. I think a lot of what they say is scary and negative and bad and violent and hurtful, and I don't understand. But on the left, they're not great in their own way. Like, acting all superior, which, you know, that doesn't, calling people stupid and moron all the time. What do you think they're gonna do back? Like, if you're the smarter, more superior person, then leave off with the name calling. Rise the F above, and, you know, be what your talk is about. And the left is terrible about that. Like, they're into causes, but NIMBY also, I think you would hear more with familiarity with coming from the left, because they don't want a prison in their backyard. Chemical plants and stuff like that, I completely understand. No one wants that in their backyard. NIMBY. Not in anyone's backyard. But homeless stuff, they don't, you know, it'll get them out of here. We don't want to look at that. You don't want to look at that? That is people. That might have worked in your bank until that parent got cancer. Like, what? Hi, the left, you suck that way. And other ways, like, the Democratic leadership needs to retire. Let the young people come in. Let them take the reins. Ooh, it could be scary. Things could mess up. You could just be wrong. Things are changing. Inception. Remember? Sorry, I don't mean to be all harsh. Maybe a little, because, man, Nancy Pelosi, man, she pisses me off. Retire! Okay. Let's see. I have more. Oh, well, no, maybe that's for another time. Oh yeah, LA is on fire. Speaking of my hometown again, and that's freaking scary. They well, I do my prayer thing off and on, well, for like a lot of stuff, but now I have to add that. It is scary looking. I got a couple of pictures that I saw online. They showed sunset. They didn't say where on sunset. I can't tell. You can't, the buildings are not visible. The buildings are different from the last time I was there, so I don't even know what to look for, but it looked like a movie set. It reminded me of like Earthquake, if you remember that, or whatever. I think there was two LA disaster movies. Inferno, maybe it was one. I don't know, but they were like Earthquake, the ground came out and there was a volcano, something like that. Well, they got the volcanic action, they got the fire, and usually it's up in the woods, but it's like people are having to flee, and that is like something that earthquakes, yeah, have happened there, but that's a different disaster situation. This is like, you got to get up and grab what's important. Like, you got to prioritize. And the city is highly materialistic, so maybe that's a kind of pointing to that. Like, maybe that stuff's not as important as you think. Just a thought. But it's giving me feelings. I feel like fear and stuff a little bit. So, the last thing I want to talk about from my notes here is on Facebook, which is where it's kind of like my phone book more than anything else, because otherwise I would just get rid of it. It's awful. But I saw on there that someone that I used to be in a band with briefly, and then also was screwing around with, I guess. He died, and I was a little mad, I have to admit, because I feel like, well, they cheated on me for one thing. They cheated on me, and they accused me of cheating on them, which I didn't. And it was just like such a shitty little situation, and I thought, maybe when we grow up, one day they'll be able to go, hey, sorry about that. That was kind of messed up. But that didn't come, and now he's gone, so I'm just not gonna get it. And so I was trying to look at the good side of, when I was with him, and so there were positives, and one of them was that I was in the band. I feel good about what we did, and I have recognition for that, and my other band that I was in a few, but the Mad Society from when I was in the band with the other children, that one gets recognition. And I don't feel, I have mixed feelings about that. But anyway, so I got to have that experience. We got to travel and play out of town, which was fun, and something I could not do with the children, so it was good. I'd been out of town with bands, just not mine. So it was good. Met a lot of people, had a lot of fun, learned some things. And the other thing was I was in need of a place to live and a job for a minute, which you kind of just got to have it if you're not living off your parents, or some other situation you might have worked out. I had no situation, so I had to find a place to live, and I had to have a job so I could pay these people some rent. So I found me some sporadic work while I was there, and I got to live with some people that I knew, some other punk rockers, and then these other people whose house it was that were an interesting couple. They went on the scene. The husband was an artist in his spare time, and he would photograph the scene and go to gigs and places where the punk rockers hung out, and they'd take pictures of people, and they made a little fanzine type thing. and they were, I guess you could say, youth ministers in a way. They definitely, like I said, they did have like a sort of religious background thing. They didn't really like force it on us. Like like even in the house when you lived there, they wanted you to go. They offered for you to go, but you didn't have to go, and they didn't like make you feel all terrible if you didn't go, like other situations could be. And they were kind enough to let me move into this guy's room, little tiny room with him there. There was a lot of restrictions I didn't particularly care for, but it was the haunted place that I lived in, which I didn't appreciate for a long, long time. In fact, I was just scared by it. And then I got to spend one whole night alone in that place where there were, I mean, it did everything. It had like the black stuff, the black mist, and weird feelings frequently, nightmares that everybody had the same dream, and everybody remembered it and saw like the cause of the nightmare, which I just, the couple whose apartment it was, who was kind enough to rent out their rooms to silly young punk rock people, they were like not that much older than us. Everybody was young. Like, I don't think anybody was in their 40s in that house yet. But yeah, one night everyone went out, and I, for some reason, decided to stay home. And probably it was because, I don't know, like, I don't know. I'm an only child, and I do like to have alone time, and it was real hard to get in a roommate situation anywhere that I lived. So that might have been why I decided to stay home. I don't. Oh, wow, that's swollen. Great. Anyway, and it was just like a creepy night. Like, nothing happened until the morning, to be honest, but it felt so awful in there that this place had windows that opened out onto the roof, so you could sit on the windowsill, and if you swung your legs over the sill, you'd be on the roof. Your feet would be on the roof, which was great for like all of us young people in the house, because we all smoked cigarettes, so we couldn't do that in the house, but we could do it on the roof. Anyway, I just kind of was hanging out in that area, like had my book or whatever. There was a TV that my roommate person had in their room, but I didn't sit in there to watch. I don't know. It was the nightmare room, so maybe I just didn't want to be in there. And I was there with those people's dog too, so the dog was really like hanging out and sticking with me, which was fine. I love dogs and everything, but she was being really clingy, and I understood that because it was just like creepy feeling in there, like kind of undefinable, but like I just didn't want to be in rooms, and I just felt a lot better when I was out on the roof smoking. So most of the night we spent out on the roof. Like, we stayed up all night long. And being LA, it was just, I mean, I think it probably got to be, I don't know, 68, 68 degrees overnight. Like, ooh, so cold. It must have been summer, because the valley is, which is where this was, does get cold, colder than Hollywood for sure. But it does get cold in the mornings in LA. Like, don't be fooled. It gets hot real fast, but there is a cold part. It's like in wintertime and that. So anyway, it was warm enough to just be out there all night, which was fine, And the morning came along. The thing that kind of was like, okay, that's it, I'm out of here, happened that morning, was the people should have been home, but I guess they ended up spending the night where they were, which was over an hour's drive away from where we lived. And I knew like they would stay until the whole thing emptied out, so that would have been 2:30 in the morning, and then they would have gone wherever everyone went afterward to get greasy food and drink beer, or they had been drinking beer. Like maybe you've gone to a club and been young, and none of this is news to you, but that's what we did. And so the two adults, though, they didn't drink, so I don't know. The man worked in construction, so maybe they just were like, we're tired. I don't know. Maybe they got a motel. I don't know. Because in the morning, when I was like, man, they should be here by now, it was like already like 7 o'clock in the morning, like the whole next day. And they did live in a cluster tangle of traffic, but still, like 2:30 in the morning, the thing ended, and he would have had to work. So I was like, where are these people? And sitting there in the windowsill, and the sun it's like the sun is up. It is morning, and I'm looking right across from me is a desk, and on that desk is a picture of this couple. And this is before ghost shows. Like, I'm telling you, man, this was early on. And I'm looking at this picture, and I know that they had done not exorcisms but house blessings, and they had this non-denominational priest guy that they love to go to his sermons or whatever you call it, and they would meet at the IHOP or whatever. But he had lived in some tropical location, so I'm not sure. Like, I know he did like prayer blessings, but I'm like, what's with the tropical location stuff? I don't know if he, I don't know. I don't know why I'm even mentioning that now. But anyway, now you know. But he did a bunch of blessings, and the thing just wasn't, it didn't go away. It was much stronger than what he was doing. And side note, these people, I did not see this happen, but they claimed that this thing had caused cars to fly off the freeway on-ramp that was behind this place. It went up an incline, and then there was a parking lot back there because it was like housing and retail. So we had like a loft, we had an apartment above this dry cleaning store, and then it did like a horseshoe thing, and there was another business on the other side, and other, I don't know if there was another apartment like that because there was multiple doors, but there was some other things over there. I never saw people or anything over there. I swear it was Deadsville. But anyway, back to the thing in the house. So the couple claimed that it had caused a couple of cars to come flying off of that on-ramp because it was angry for whatever reason, and the people like died. And I could find nothing about it in the paper, but I didn't look back then. I've tried to look like now on the internet, but I can't find stuff from the 80s in the paper online because I guess I'm just not good at that. But anyway, there was undeniably something there. Like I said, I saw like the black disturbances in the air, the mist, smoky stuff that people talk about. And so back to this morning, sitting in the windowsill, looking at this desk that's directly across from me, and there's a picture of this couple, and I'm thinking about how he did the house blessings and they didn't work. I don't know, like, I think it must be some, like, Catholic snobbiness or something, but I was like, well, they didn't do it right, because if they would have gotten an exorcism in here, they wouldn't be having all these problems. And that picture of those people with BAM! Slammed over like hard. It made a like a gunshot report type sound. Dog flinched and went running. I'm like, no, don't like go, because like if you jump off of there, it's the roof. Like it didn't do that, but dog went to run away. So I'm like grabbing the dog's collar, like, wait, no, calm down, it's okay. But then I had to go in the house and call my friend, and the phone was right next to that thing. It was one of those landlines that was bolted to the wall there. Not a wall phone, but like... Anyway, I had to go right by the thing to call my friend, and I had to wait until like 7:38 in the morning, and I was like, please, I know it's early, I'm really sorry, but I'm so scared. And I told him what happened, and thankfully he just came. Like, I love him forever for that, but for many other things too. um but that scared me. It scared the bejesus out of me. It scared the pants off me, and I wouldn't even talk about things that happened there for years, especially like even in San Francisco. I was like, I don't want to talk about it. It feels like it's too close. And then after at least a decade more, when I was in the Pacific Northwest where I live now, I finally began to talk about it. But also, in the intervening time, there was more paranormal stuff to watch, more people investigating. And so at some point, my fear turned to curiosity, and then I just started to realize, like, I didn't used to be afraid of it when I was a kid. I used to, like, run around I lived in this place of, like, a quadplex. Instead of a duplex, it was a quadplex, and my family all lived there, so I could just roam in and out of any apartment. And I used to always go in my aunt's apartment, or my great aunt's apartment, and I'd just be out looking for a ghost, like wanting something to happen, and nothing would ever happen. Like, isn't that weird? I kind of forgot about that. Like, by the time this haunting living situation came up. So anyway, years later, I've been able to watch this stuff, and my attitude changed. And what it is now is more like, we're here, they're here, everybody has a right to be here. And as far as ghosts are concerned, especially, those were people. Just like the homeless people, when they had jobs, they were people. Now they're like ghost people. The ghosts are still the people they were, like, when they were alive. So if they were ill-tempered, they're going to be ill-tempered. If they're not, they're not. But they have us at a disadvantage in a lot of ways, because they can see us and we can't see them. We have to rely on our senses. Why was that important to talk about? I don't know. Let me talk about the cards I pulled. With I think still the situation in mind of all of us, people. There's been a sort of trend on Blue Sky, and I've seen this in two different sort of meme things. Like, it's like a little saying on a picture of a parchment looking thing. It's just text, and it's talking about, one is saying, if you, like, basically are behind Trump policies, like getting rid of women's rights and border crap that's harmful to people trying to come and go, people that need to come because they had to really go because it wasn't safe, that are looking for sanctuary and help. And there's a lot of myths about people from Latin America, and it's that they want to come here and, like, suck off the federal teat. That couldn't be further from the truth. They're some of the most industrious, busy, hardworking people ever, and people know that. They're the ones that'll go pick the fruit in the poison dirt, because there is such a thing as that, along with hot temperatures and terrible housing for them and low pay, and I'm sure all kinds of abuse. It is just horrible the way that the people are treated. It's not true. Of course, there's dangerous people. There's dangerous people here. There's dangerous people in every population. We just, in a lot of ways, don't look at other people and situations and see the reality of them. We have been conditioned. There's a lot of stuff that is still conditioning us. And it's kind of a daunting thought that, like, how are we all gonna, like, be able to deal with each other? So these memes talk about all these things that if you are a believer in this, or if you follow this, I'm paraphrasing, then I can't deal with you. And I 100% get it. I've talked about it recently. I'm like blocking a lot of people, and I'm blocking people that it's making me feel bad to be blocking them, because like I don't even give them a chance. But I have learned from giving people chances in the past, and that's why I'm not doing it. And if you take a position that is working with like a Fox News, like I said, or the Trump administration, or if you're just like a fervent believer in MAGA policies, whatever those are, and basically conservatives on the right, it's like this whole ball of all of these people with very little definition. And the Republicans that are not like that are few and far in between. But there's also stuff I know on the horizon, like the people seeing that the emperor has no clothes. That's a metaphor. But people finally, like, I think are starting to get it. Like the tariffs thing and getting rid of the ACA or Obamacare, which some people didn't know were one and the same thing. They are, in case you didn't know that. And it's like one of the few ways you can get insurance with some help, like maybe a sliding scale situation. Probably better than you're going to do straight from an insurance company, or with none at all, just showing up at the hospital. This is an old story with that stuff. So we see things differently. Like, I think my time hanging out with those Q people allowed me to see that something that was always the case, like some switch got flipped and we got all messed up where we just can't, like, get along with each other the way we used to. Like, it's not even agree to disagree, because why is anybody even having arguments about stuff? It didn't seem like, it just was, it feels like there was a time and a place to talk about stuff, and you knew where you could say stuff where it would go over okay with people, and you knew where what you were saying was going to come off as whack, or people it wasn't going to go over well, and you just didn't say it there. Now nobody has a filter. Nobody has a gag. Nobody has the sense to tell, like, when, like, no one has, like, can differentiate between in the head thoughts and just blurting out whatever. I mean, the thing with blurting, it's like a Freudian thing. Like, you're just saying the thing, and it's getting out before you can realize, like, oh, you know, maybe that's not gonna go over so great. Unfortunately, that was meant to happen. You just gotta live with it. And that's the thing. We have to live with what each other is going through, and we have to live with that. But it doesn't have to be terrible. I mean, we can make the best of things. So, in terms of, like, us just getting along with each other and dropping all these silly pretenses and conditioning and ideas that all kinds of propaganda has, you know, bent us with and turned us against each other, that's terrible. That's not productive. And while we're fighting it out and not even realizing that that's what is happening, we're getting robbed blind, mistreated, you name it, like bad stuff, you know, things being done that are hidden, and people, you know, bribed and intimidated into not revealing things that people need to be knowing that's bad for, you know, the general population, like big stuff. And that's another thing, like, about the Q and the Mega, like, they will talk about this behind the scenes stuff, and then they sound crazy, but it's like, they kind of sound crazy because they act like they discovered it, like Trump with his nobody knew, and, like, you know, honey, everybody knew, you just didn't know, like, obvious stuff. But if that has to be their special thing, okay. Please don't make the situation worse. But for us all to integrate and get along, like, we have to. Oh, the memes. I didn't finish. If you are all of these things on the right that are unacceptable, that are basically MAGA Trump conservative stuff, then I can't be friends with you. I don't, and I understand that. That's like my blocking thing. But this is like, it goes beyond that to it kind of continues with the name calling type attitude situation, like that whole casting of, yeah, I don't know. It's not a great look. It's very superior and arrogant, and it's kind of disgusting. And it also gets up the other person's hair, gets up their ire, and then you can't deal with each other. So I always say this: somebody has got to be the one to say, okay, let me just listen to you, and not like have a bunch of judgments and insults to do with it. And that goes both ways. Like, everybody's doing it, but like I said, somebody has to like be the one to start like taking the hit, and you're not gonna die. Just take the hit, you'll be fine. Maybe it'll be me, I don't know. I'm working on it. So this card is this guy, the scary jack-o'-lantern looking thing in space. And it reads, I am not this hair, I am not this skin, I am not the soul that lives with, I am the soul that lives within. So, right there, like, forget about the hair and the skin and the LGBTQ and the Latino and the Muslim and the black and the Asian. Like, just drop all of that baloney, because that is what the soul is wearing. That is an applique. That is an avatar. It is not the soul. It is not the person within. It is not the being within that, regardless of the mask you're wearing, is in there. That is the true essence of the person. Beneath the surface, it goes on to say, looks can be deceiving. Oh, sorry. I cut off a sentence. I am the soul that lives within, beneath the surface. So, yes, underneath the hair and the skin and all of that stuff, looks can be deceiving. Well, it's not the look, is it? It is like all of the stuff we've attached to the look and all of the associations. And then we like latch onto that stuff, and it's not great, because again, the flipping of the script, the turning of the tables, I feel like that's just kind of not really happening. And I feel like it's key to being able to accept each other and allow each other to be who we are without making it a killing offense or something to get a beating about, or doxxed or terrorized in any other way. Like, who do you think you are? Like, who told you to unleash punishment on people? You're not that person's, like, parent, if that's even appropriate anymore, to unleash punishment. Like, don't you have a life of your own? I don't understand that kind of intrusion. I mean, I hope it doesn't feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of trying to talk about my impressions and sharing, like, how I'm dealing with stuff. And please, no instructions are being given here. This is all musing and finding my way. Like, if I'm instructing people in any way, it is to say that anybody can, like, get their phone and express their stuff, and if they feel like, well, whatever they're doing it for, that's their business. I would hope that it's also going to be in service to the rest of us in some way, because we need to get past all of this outside stuff and understand that the real thing that matters is under the skin, out of sight where you can't see it. And so, rather than calling names and responding in kind, I just got through saying it a couple of times. Like, if you can mind your own business and leave other people alone, I feel like that's a good and virtuous thing, because while you're doing the other thing, you're not doing what you need to be doing for your own soul's good health. I mean, you have a role that you're playing, definitely, but what you do with it is up to you. You know, like, you could start off on a bad track and you could stay on it for whatever that's worth, or you could be on it and change and make it into a good, positive thing, which I feel like you get more points for, although I could be wrong, because I, I did learn that the people that we call bad and wrong and that we're afraid of take on a lot of hate and bad feeling, and it may look like they're hashtag winning, but it might not feel that way to them. I mean, our perspective is everything, and then also having an informed perspective, or at least an open-minded one, for those kind of things you encounter that you don't know nothing about. I mean, it's so many facets of, like, learning to allow and accept yourself, the other person. There's probably a lot of forgiveness involved, like I was talking about the phobia, the homophobia. Like, if you're beating yourself and other people up so bad that because you have, like, a gay tendency, or you feel like you do, or homosexual, and you feel shame and awful about it, that is not helping anybody, and it's gotta feel terrible, I imagine. So, this next card, with the snowy mountaintops, or are those stars? I guess we'll have to have some of both. It reads, "The world is a mountain that echoes your words." So, okay, like, I have read this before, and I was reading into my mind something other than what the card reads. What my brain was computing was that we are mountains that echo our words. So, with us as the mountains, like, at the top, I'm gonna look at its pyramid shape too, like the steps of a pyramid in the ascending order. But at the top would be, like, your higher functions. So the way you're thinking and being, the way you're living your life, basically, is a reflection of, you're giving off a reflection or an echo. And mountains are so, like, perfect and beautiful. I feel that's like a metaphor for what we could be if we're not already thinking and feeling ourselves to be something like that, because we certainly have all these untapped abilities in us. Like, we are certainly much more than we realize, most of us. Like, that's even an abstract thought for me, but I know that in a lot of ways we are capable of more mentally and physically than, and psychically, with our senses, than we are using or are aware of. And so, I mean, if you're interested in that type of thing, there you go. You have something to explore. You have a mountain to climb and develop. It also says reflection, seeing affects what you do matters. So, from the mountaintop, you could say something. It's a high view. You can overlook whatever's below you with greater clarity than you could on the ground. You have a wider scope. So, this is, I guess, going back to what I was saying about someone having to have the presence of mind, or several someones, to be like, this is not acceptable, it doesn't work, it's not helping, to just be obnoxious and name-calling, and it's just spiteful and mean, because just because something is unaware of something doesn't make them stupid. They just didn't know the information was there, or they didn't know that if they changed their perspective, like literally went from down here where you can only see a limited direction to up here where you're, like I said, your scope is far widened. Like there's more out there than you're aware of. Once you see stuff, you change. You become aware of things and like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that connection leads to this and that and the other thing. Like I didn't know. And, like I don't know. Do you berate a child when they don't know something, or do you tell them? Do you educate them? Are you gentle with them? Do you take the time to explain the things that they don't understand? You might not be able to do that with an adult, the gentle explaining part, but you could certainly be more gentle in your interaction with them. And also, the left, I do see the arrogance as far as like, in a very generalized sense, like, we will think we know more, silly, ridiculous, that's just not even true, than somebody on the left or on the right. But again, perspectives are different, and so there's plenty of people on the left that are not like scientists either out there talking. So everyone has a right to be here. Incarnated or not, and everyone, we have this free speech thing in America. It's not everywhere. Americans, you need to remember that when you go other places. You do not have the right of free speech everywhere. You barely have it here lately, but we're gonna have to work on that. So here's the cards I don't remember pulling. I'm just gonna go ahead and read them, see what we got going here. So the first card is Ruby. I just saw the first line. The subtitle is Infinity. The thing about these stones, and I didn't say this the other day when I did a similar reading about kind of better interacting with the people that we don't culturally and politically agree with, and it was that every lifetime we play out, that we come here and do this human thing, and we have our soul groups and our soul families, we play out these different scenarios that we want to experience. And the thing about stones and gemstones is that it's interesting that infinity is on here, because I don't know if infinity is their lifetime, but damn near. And I feel like it's like a metaphor or an analog for the souls all coming here and returning over and over to like work through these things. And the things we work through are personal to us, but they also have larger, wider reaching effects, like further than we can know maybe personally just on the ground. But if we have a higher, wider perspective, then we might be able to appreciate things that we were not aware that our acts or words have caused to be. So, and also what I was saying either, like we don't really take advantage of what all we could be. We have trouble even accepting the idea that we can be more than what we are. And that, I'm not even going to try to describe what that would be for any one person. That's going to be unique to every person, and they have to find that and figure that out on their own. You can get help, like it'll come to you if you need it often. That's the way life works. But the card says, stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. You are the universe. So what are we made of? Like water, electricity, magnetism, minerals, metals. We are the universe. And in that sense, that alone just gives me like a much larger sense of myself. Like Do you know how planets are made? Like, it starts with like bits of dust somehow sticking together like a dang tater tot. I'll never know. I have to figure out how they make those tater tots stick together. But you end up with these bits of stuff. They're, I don't know, molecules, electrons, whatever. I'm not going to give you a science lesson, but it starts as a little bit of stuff, and then it gradually gets, I guess, magnetism attracts other stuff. And I'm just saying, the stuff that we end up being made of, our makeup, all of those things that I just listed off, all traveled here. So our bits and pieces, our minuscule stuff, space stuff, has been around. And I think we could take that as a literal thing, like lifetime to lifetime. I think that we've incarnated as humans, as very many other beings, some I don't even know the names of. I'm not going to list the ones I do know the names of. That can be your journey. You can go search like credible sounding ET races. And I just say the credible sounding part because sometimes there's a lot of things that are, oh, they're not things, they're people, they're beings that resemble beings here, like animals. But these beings are not animals in the sense that our animals are animals. And then there's a lot of stuff out there that we could think like, oh, would this be a being or a race? And it's not. It's just a fiction, but that's okay. I mean, all of it sort of gets our minds and our senses ready for the unusual. So this card is Chiroprace, or card, this gemstone, Chiroprace. I don't know. How would you pronounce that? So anyway, it's a nice stone. I like the greeny, milky color it is. Sort of like 70s hospital, but that's okay. And the subtitle is Perspective, what I was talking about. I don't remember pulling these. The difference between hope and despair is a different way of telling stories from the same facts. Well, isn't that interesting? You could almost apply that to people. Or I'll give you one that everyone or a lot of people will have heard, and it's the blind men feeling an elephant. If you have 5 men feeling different spots on an elephant, and they don't know they're feeling an elephant, their guesses are going to be wildly different according to that saying. Because they don't see the whole picture. All they see is what's in their hand. So their perspective is kind of small. It's a shame that their vision is not going to allow them to see the mountaintop view. But when you have a difference like blindness, you have other your other senses, I think, are more developed. They say that, but you just have a different perspective on the world, period. Like, your perspective is different because you're not seeing it like we do with our eyes. You're perceiving stuff in a completely other way. It'd be like us trying to describe red to someone that just plain can't see, you know. And I think they would be hard pressed to describe what their world perspective is like. But well, I'd be open to hearing what that's about. That actually is really interesting. So the last card. Okay, I wasn't going to talk about the boulders. I feel like they're self-explanatory. There is a myth about a person named Sisyphus, and they got into some situation, and their punishment by the gods, I think this is a Greek myth, and so Sisyphus did something to piss off the gods, and his punishment was to go home, but the whole way home he has to push this boulder, and That actually was not what I had in mind when I put that up there. Like, I knew about it, but Sisyphus's punishment is that he just doesn't ever make it home. The boulder always causes a problem and sends him. It rolls over him, and he has to go back and start all over. So, Greek gods were assholes. Like, does the punishment ever end? But the reason why I put it up there was just like, it's gonna be, I guess, hard times are coming. I guess have been sensing it for a while, because I'm like I've just been picking up all kinds of practical application knowledge for things to do for, like, preserving food when there's no power, being warm when there's no power, having light when there's no power, how to build a shelter, how to build fires in wet and dry conditions, how to, just all kinds of, I guess you could say, prepper stuff, but also like science stuff, like just all kinds of information, just to be ready. And so this card is chiastolite, I believe. And isn't it interesting that it's a crystal, I guess, but it looks like wood, right? Like a handle. And if you've ever owned a hammer or used a hammer, you'll know that it doesn't exactly look like that. That obviously is a crystal, but when you use a hammer a bunch, the end of it gets all these fractures and pits on it, and looks sort of similar to that. I don't understand why this handle is here. It is definitely giving me hammer vibes. But excuse me. The subtitle is Unwavering Tenacity. Like, you just keep hammering at it. There's the hammer again. So the card says, temper us in fire and we grow stronger. When we suffer, we survive. Well, we break the bone and it grows back together. It's stronger than the original bone where it broke. Surviving a break takes tenacity. The physical therapy and regaining your ability to try to get back to where you were before the break requires tenacity. This life is going to take tenacity. Keep rolling that stone. We're going to get home. Like, we're going to be able to, we're not Sisyphus. We're going to be able to, like, what the stone represents is work that you just have to keep doing and keep doing and keep doing for a while. And it looks big and like it's never going to end, but like I said, we're not Sisyphus. We just have to stay tenacious, and we'll be okay. Like, we're always going to be okay, because this is not the real deal. Like, when we die, that's when the real deal happens. That is the person that we are being asked and advised over and over to remember. When we're asked to remember who we are, that is the person. The soul inside of the outer packaging, which, again, we shouldn't pay so much attention to that, because that has very little to do with the soul that lives inside of the costume, so to speak. Okay, I think I got all my stuff said. Thank you and good night.